was really great to see so many fan arts, so many letters, so many fiction, cosplays.
The reactions were fantastic, way beyond our craziest expectations.
It was impossible to expect a huge community like this and so passionate fans, and it's great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We started the project by making the game we wanted to make for ourselves, but at the end it's really making a game for the players, because that's what's important.
So welcome to the dev commentary of Life is Strange. We're really happy to be there and talk about the game. Thank you for watching.
Thanks.
I'm Raoul Barbet, one of the co-game director of the game.
And I'm Michel Cor, the other co-game director of the game.
We are two game directors working on one project, so it's really interesting to work that way.
It can be hard sometimes, but I think it's a really interesting creative process, because we can challenge each other on a lot of aspects and find out always the better solution for what's best for the game.
If only Michel or Raoul was directing the game would have been really different. They both know how to make a game. Like they're not stuck in their field of expertise. They know a lot of things about each department, and they had this direct contact with the teams.
I'm more from the audiovisual and movie scene, so I was in charge of all the cameras with the camera team. I work a lot with the sound design team also, with the music.
And myself, since I'm from an illustration background, my specialties were more on the art direction, and later, for this game, I'm starting to work way more with the narrative team and the voice recording sessions.
It was cool because they had a similar vision for the game, so we didn't have a yes from one and a no from the other.
Actually, Michel and Raoul are in the game when you think about it, because there are two game directors, so we have a contraction which is Michel. But if you put it the other way around, it's Raoul and Michel, so it's Rachel. I'm pretty sure they did it on purpose.
The idea behind the game was because both of us worked on Remember Me, and there were some sequences in this game called memory remixes, and one of the founders, Hervé Bonin, asked this small core team to think about a game with this kind of mechanism. Very quickly came the episodic adventure game, because we wanted really to do something like that.
There is really a lot of good ways interactive ways to tell stories.
On an episodic format, you have to make a lot of choice for episode 1, because you won't be able to change after. A lot of assets have to be there in episode 1. Yeah. So the menu is one of those assets.
It was interesting because there was a lot of variations. We did a lot of tries of what we wanted to show in this menu. The idea was really to basically show the most important locations of the game. So we can see the Blackwell Academy on the top right, we can see the lighthouse, we can see the town of Arcadia Bay. We were really trying to give a sense of location and just showing like the game world with the menu.
We really wanted to make the player feel that all areas are connected, and the menu is a great way to do that.
One of the main importance for us for the game was to have a peaceful game with this sense of you can take your time, and we wanted to reflect that from the menu. So we worked on those small wind effects and the leaves that are going around and the nice and soft music. It was just when you start the game you should feel quite at peace and comfortable. And even when the menu evolves in each episode, there is some small details that are changing. Like for the menu for episode 4, you have the beach whaled. That's this kind of details we wanted to just add with the variations of the menu. The game takes place in Oregon, in the Pacific Northwest, in the United States. When I went back there on vacations, I've seen a lot of places that really looks like what we did in the game. So I guess it was a really big job of references to be sure that everything was correct, but it's also something that's really exciting about making a game, that you have to look at everything and to reproduce reality, and with of course our own lens and stylizations, but we really wanted this to feel like being in Oregon. Sometimes people ask us if we choose to have a game in the United States for marketing, for selling the game. We knew that we were fans of like TV shows like Twin Peaks or X-Files. They have those trees and the Pacific Northwest feeling.
I think they are a great example of a small community thinking that everybody know each other and everybody is happy, but when you put something inside this community, it could be something supernatural. You discover a lot more.
And it's really a way to shift things around and to bring chaos and interesting variations on the characters. And in the end, Life is Strange is really a game and a story about the characters, about their lives. It's not a story about the sci-fi elements. The sci-fi elements are just for us. They were just here to make things interesting. So let's play the game and
yeah, let's play Life is Strange. So this is the very beginning of the game. I think this is one of the very difficult sequences of the beginning of the production because this is the first time the player will see what the game looks like and will be inside the story. So we got a lot of discussion about this one and a lot of discussion about the shots, how we are going to present Mac's character. The important, as this is a video game, is the player to know where he has to go and the objective of each scene. This scene is a link to the end of the game, of course, and it's also to close the loop and begin with this scene. And when you know the end of the game was something we really wanted to have, so we can see all the FX, and we've got one FX artist, very talented, Thomas. Here you can see a lot of his work, all the particles, the tornado.
We took a lot of time to work on this tornado because when you're working on an episodic game, it's important to still hook the player from episode 1. So that's the kind of discussion we had about the rhythm, to when should we put something that has a bit more impact and that feels something that shows the player that there is something bigger. So this introduction was a bit like that. We wanted in Life is Strange the player to always know what Max is knowing and to just be with her. At this moment, Max doesn't know where she is and the player doesn't know it either. We're back to the high school, and which is one of the most important settings of the game, of course, the high school setting and the Blackwell Academy. High school is something where the player will feel comfortable because he knows it, but the transition from the cliff to there is the twist of having something really different, and that should hook the player to say, oh, it's not just a teen story, there is more to it. And then, of course, we can go much over than that and twist it and change the characters. But it was an interesting starting point creatively.
This kind of introduction is really important because in one sequence with some shots you have to discover all the different characters, the main ones, so you will see of course Jefferson, Kate and Victoria.
And it was quite hard to decide between not showing too much, to not break the idea of the game, to not be too big compared to what the game would be after. There is a lot of themes of big ideas on the game, and of course photography is one of it, because photography is still a way to look back to the past. It's linked to the theme of rewind and time manipulation and nostalgia, and that's one of the reasons why Max came back to Arcadia Bay to attend this photography class.
I think for the player to be like Max back in this town when she don't know everyone, but you've got to respect the schedule. It's really, as a player, something great to discover. Also, the lighting was really important in this scene to break the cliff ambience by this sunny atmosphere and all this light coming from the windows.
And maybe we decided to have a private high school rather than just a regular high school for the photography course. But it was also to be able to have less students, because we wanted the story to be a bit more intimate. We didn't want it to be like this huge high school with so many students. But based on what the player is doing, you can really learn more about them and see that they're actually not just the stereotype and the archetype you would think they are. This is still a perfect example of how episodic is hard, because if you look closely at this poster, there is a mistake on it. It says that the exhibition takes place in the De Young Museum of Art, when actually it's not that in episode 5, it's the Zeitgeist Gallery. We have a really great community, so thank you guys. And people found out this mistake, and yes, it is a mistake. It's when in episode 5 we found out that we couldn't be a museum, it was too big, so it has to be an art gallery, so we changed the name, and yes, there is a mistake like this in episode 1.
How cute I looked yet.
I was about to.
Welcome
to the real world.
We really wanted to to have this feeling of being part of a whole high school. So it means a lot of people, it means bullying, it means difficulties when you're a teenager in this kind of world.
And showing the different cliques and different kind of teenager.
I think a lot of players love this introduction. The use of music here is really important. Is as Max feels insecure in this atmosphere, we wanted her to isolate, and the music is a great way of isolate yourself when you just want to be on your own. And so since the beginning of the game we were working with licensed tracks, licensed music. We test when we are testing and prototype some scenes, we put some licensed tracks from artists we love, and Scene Matters was one of them. And when we asked Jonathan Morali, who is the lead of Scene Matters, if it's possible to use his music, he's a gamer, so it was really happy to have this new experience, and for us it's just incredible to work with him. And this kind of editing is really, really difficult to do, because you have to choose the important moment in a song and to choose the right images.
Because our writer Jean-Luc has written many scenes built around music. The edit is based on the music. It's not the other way.
The music is really important in the game. It explains a lot about the characters, because the choice of the music, the choice of the artist means a lot. For example, Chloe won't listen to the same artist as Max. For the anecdote, for this guitar part, we asked the lead singer of Scene Matters to take his guitar and to play on top of Gonzalez's song in a clumsy way, to be sure that it would be like Max playing guitar. So the objective of this scene was to go into the bathroom. I think you can hear the great sound work. Sebastian, the audio lead, has worked a lot on this kind of effects. When you take out your earplug, you can hear more the ambience. And this kind of art is done by our main concept artist. We got like 4 concept artists working on the game, with Edouard who has made a lot of artwork.
He was the one
concept artist.
So basically in the beginning we do a lot of documentation, like we do a lot of research. From all those pictures we can find on the internet, every room, every character needs to tell you a story, who they are, what they do.
And just for following the scene, even for the mood, when it's still the rhythm of the game. So we wanted this scene in the bathroom to have a really cold and harsher and more contrasty lighting, to be different from the soft and warm lighting from the art class before.
I think this scene, there was here one of the mistakes we have done with the game. For example, when Max is tearing apart the Polaroid. In fact, I don't know if you have tried to tear apart a Polaroid, but it's quite impossible.
Yeah, you can. We tried it. You can't do it. It's too strong. It's plastic,
it's
and it's impossible to tear it like she does.
But of course, there is a lot of symbolic behind this, and so we decided to keep it, even if it's non-realistic. Maybe it's a bad Polaroid quality, and we can do it. So you can see the butterfly coming in from the window. Of course, there's a lot of symbol behind this. The butterfly, of course, with all the butterfly effects thing, and the fact that Chloe has got
some butterflies on her tattoo, and the color of her hair based on the color of the butterfly.
Really something we wanted to hear. The blue butterfly is really, really important, and of course at the end of the game it's much more important.
One of the fans' favorite, and of course a character we really love, Chloe. She's one of the most important characters, because at the end the choice is about her. It was really important to create this character the best way possible, so the player would learn to care more and more about her. But we really wanted her to be not that nice at the beginning, so when she's evolving during the different episodes, and she's getting nicer to Max, people would care even more about her, because she changed, and she likes the fact that she changed. If she was the nicest person from the beginning, it wouldn't be, I think, as effective that her going forward and changing toward Max.
Sometimes some players hated Chloe for during the first episode, and I think it's not a bad thing because you can dislike a lot of things about her personality. And after in episode 3, and of course at the beginning of episode 4, there is really something more to this character, and I think it's like having in real life with a friend. There is always some things you don't like. And the relation between Max and Chloe talk about that, and I think it's really interesting to see how the player will learn to like more and more Chloe. And
I think it was one of the biggest challenge of the writing process because we have 5 episodes, we have a limited amount of time, and we need to find the good beats and the good pacing to make those characters evolve.
It's a really intimate story, and it's mostly just centered on just emotional moments. All of the major choices that you make in the game are emotional. The heart of it is the relationship between Max and Chloe. It gets really dark, and things get really hard for Chloe and really emotional.
In the game, one of our goal was also to be able to talk about real-life issues, about some social themes and difficult themes that can be experienced in real life. I mean, it's different to other games where there are bigger issues like situation of life or death or war or stuff like that. And in this game, we wanted really to focus on more human issues on a smaller level.
The mood of the game and the themes of the game. It's the themes that we tackle in the game are not something that you see often in other games. We try to be mature about it. We try not to force it onto players, and we try not to be too brutal about it.
We have issues like domestic violence, family issues.
So talk about drugs, alcoholism,
And
depression. It's
really
part of a reality, and I think it was really important for us to not avoid that. And I think it's a great video game is also a great media to talk about that, because as a player you will be involved maybe more than just looking at a movie or reading a book. You will be really part and actor of this experience.
We were not sure that Square Enix, the publisher, would approve all the themes, the intense scenes we have, and how we deal with them. And really early in the discussions, we were relieved to see that they didn't want to change anything. They just wanted to make sure that we deal properly with the scenes or themes, and this is exactly what were our intentions. So
It's again a key scene for episode 1. It's the first time you see Nathan and Chloe. First scene with the character is really, really important. We got a lot of information to give to the player. And
we needed to show that Nathan was quite a troubled child, a teenager, I mean. So this is him talking to himself at the beginning. We had to fine-tune and to find the good words to use. Then we see Chloe for the first time. We have to show what's her character. So she's direct and a bit pushy to Nathan. We need still to understand what's happening. So they're talking about money, about drugs. We had to find the right hints to give to explain things. So we don't want to lose the player.
Scott is a punk ass who begs like a little girl and talks to himself.
You don't know who the fuck I am or who you're messing around with.
Where'd you get that? What are you doing? Come on, put that thing down!
Don't ever tell me what to do. I'm so sick of people trying to control me!
You are going to get in hella more trouble for this than drugs.
This is the starting point of Max discovering that she has this weird power, because basically this adrenaline rush and looking at Chloe getting shot, that's how she can trigger that for the first time, and she don't know really why, but that's the seriousness of the situation. Then you go back in the art class. So we really tried on this scene to show the deja vu feeling. So the editing and the shots were there to give this weird feeling to the player that, okay, I'm living that again and again, looking at the different moments that the player saw the first time in this scene.
So yeah, for the editing in this sequence, we wanted to keep the same elements, but not necessarily the same shots. You can see that first 3 shots are the same, I think, and after we begin to change a little the point of view. So you understand that there are the same events going on, but just seeing from a different point of view. And
I think, to be perfectly honest, we don't have a good explanation for why she's going back to the art class, because we needed it
I've
for...
got one, but I will never tell you.
I don't think it's a mistake, because we also needed to explain to the player, so the player can learn how things are working, and it's quite hard to do. So we took this freedom to have Max go back to the art class, which, even if it's a bit contradictory with how her power works after that. We are using this to explore more of Max's personality, of the characters, and because that's the way we created the character. Max, as we've seen that with what she's thinking. She has a lot of insecurity. She has issues to go forward in her life, to take decisions, and now she has this ability to not going forward but going even backward. So it's an interesting storytelling device to question with our character and with the player, of course, to question choice and consequences, to question fate, to question really interesting issues.
I think Max would never have changed as much as here in our story without this power and without this sci-fi element. So it puts the player in a very interesting position, because she will ask himself while he's doing some interaction, he can undo the interaction and try something else. But also Max, by doing this, will ask herself, am I doing the right decision? Is it the good choice or not? So we deconstruct the mechanism of classic adventure game just by adding this power and the fact that you can undo things and try another things.
Of course, in most games, you can do it with quick save, quick load, but it's like you said, it's only the player who do that, and that's one of the main themes of the games. That if I had the power to rewind and to change things, should I do it? Because sometimes it can be really seen as lying, as if I say a lot of things that you don't like, and if I go back in time and don't say them to try to, so you're not angry at me, it's a bit tricking. So we are really asking those questions, and in the beginning of the game, we are letting the player and Max do it a lot. She's getting to make a lot of friends with this rewind. But later in the game, and especially in episode 5, we are really questioning this to see maybe it wasn't the right thing. Maybe what you did to try to lie to people with your power, was it really good? And that's something that can be interesting for the story, but also to ask the player at a moment.
I think this is what we wanted to do also with this game, to show that it's difficult to make the choice, and it's even more difficult to live with it, but you have to learn to do that.
And even if you could hesitate a lot, there is no perfect way to do things.
Okay, if I'm crazy, I might as well go all the way. Can I actually reverse time?
So that's basically that the first time the player will actively rewind. So we have Max thinking that, okay, I just got back in time. I'm in the art class, and so that's why we made her break her camera, because we needed to have an element that the player will see that we will rewind. So we can really explain how do you rewind. So Max broke her camera, and then she's thinking, okay, if I got back in time, maybe I can try to do it again and revert that. So that's the first real rewind the player is actively doing. It's okay. We don't really want the players to use the rewind all the time. But since it's important in the beginning of the game to really show the player the tools he have, and it was important for us to have this in this scene, to have a lot of use of the rewind, so he can really, okay, I know how it is now, and now I decide if I use it or not.
I hope I have enough time to get to the bathroom. Please, please. I can't tell anybody. They'll think I'm crazy.
Since we are really playing the game with the point of view of Max, for her, not everything is clear, so it shouldn't be clear for the player. But there is a lot of hints that should really guide the players to understand what's happening. We have a lot of symbolism with totem spirit animals. We have the doe, and you can clearly see in episode 4 that the doe is linked to Rachel, and it's basically somehow a presence of Rachel that's guiding Max at moments. I'm not sure that a lot of players notice that, but in episode 2 actually, when you see the doe in the junkyard, it's precisely where Rachel is buried. There is this mystic feeling around the town, and since we didn't want to clearly explain everything, it's part of what makes Arcadia Bay a bit different and a bit special.